Welcome to the Let's Talk Politics Alabama podcast with your host, Daniel Stover and Russ Sanders, where we take a look at Alabama politics like a drive down I-65 from North Alabama to the state capital in Montgomery and all the way to the Sugar Sand Coast.
I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
I'm K-Ivy, but there's no step too high for a high stepper.
We choose truth over facts.
I don't want to speak negatively. I said, though, that if I lose this election, maybe I'll end up moving to Alabama.
Someone has once said that actually, as long as there are final exams, there will be prayer in schools.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Let's Talk Politics Alabama podcast. The podcast where we discuss everything in Alabama politics a little bit more in depth than you get in a news article, YouTube, Facebook, or even on your favorite podcast app. We are on episode 16, and we have a very special guest straight from the tour. I'm not sure what the tour name is right now, but it's Kerry Underwood. Okay, little joke.
Yeah, I don't really tour things, man. I don't. I'm not a tour guy.
Everybody calls you Bubba. I guess that came in real handy when Carrie Underwood came on the scene from that show. I forget what the
American Idol, man.
Yeah. I don't watch it, so
Yeah.
I barely have enough time to come home and eat without having to do something else. So,
So quick funny story about that. She had just won, and I booked a trip to Disney World, and I flew in like at 2 a.m, and I walked into where I check in at, and there was like 30 employees there, dusting shelves and moving stuff around and just busy working. And I walk up to the counter. I thought, man, Disney's got it going on. They got all these employees here at 2 a.m. And I check in, and she said, "What's the name under?" And I said, "Carrie Underwood." As soon as I did, they scattered. There was only like 2 people left. They all hung around. God love them. From 5 o'clock in the evening until 2 a.m. waiting on me to get there, and then left me, which I didn't care. I just wanted to go to bed.
That's pretty good there.
Yeah. I hate it for them, but it is what it is.
Well, Kerry, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're the mayor in Tuscumbia right now, right?
Yes, sir. That is correct. So I am a CPA by trade, and have spent since 2004. Spent my time building a firm of my own, and recently merged in with someone. And I tell you, the reason I did that is because I like politics so much. That I want to continue to pursue it, and I couldn't dedicate enough of my time to my clients, who are also like friends and family, by myself, and so I needed some help. So I guess you gauge your level of commitment by several things, and one for me is I have agreed to partner up with someone, so you lose a sense of control, but again, you make yourself a better firm by doing that. And the purpose of that is because I'm going to spend a considerable amount of my time investing in this role of servant leadership in the community through elected officials, because I love it. I'm passionate about it. I love having a chance to be proactive. If you think about the CPA profession, it's all backwards, historical. We do the 20 tax return in 2021, so you're looking back a year, and it's all historical mostly. Well, this job from day one is proactive. You can, some do, work with their head down and just answer calls when they happen and put out fires. I choose instead to walk with my head up and plan 5, 10 years, 20 years down the road. And it is such an enjoyable experience for me to see that I have an opportunity to affect 9,000 people's lives on day one. And I don't get that that's not really in many professions at all. And so it's been a joy for me. I've really, really enjoyed growing into it and learning people, knowing people. I would have not have met you two guys and be here tonight if I had not done that. So I'm better off, in that regard as well. So I'm all enthralled in it, man. I'm all about it, and feel like it's time for a bigger footprint. So here I am. looking for District 3.
Well, what's some of your, kind of the things that you can hang your hat on as mayor, that you've accomplished the last few years?
Yeah. So it's a little bit different interactions up here when you say you have, there's 4 cities all touching, right? Most places, you have a city that's here and, a county that's here. Well, in the Shoals area, we have to learn to play together and kind of learn what our roles are. I would say that at the very beginning, I was able to use some of these skills that I was taught in the CPA profession, and we sort of balanced our debt. Now, I know we talk about balancing budget, but Tuscumbia had all their debt short term and huge payments, and there wasn't enough funding to do day-to-day activities to offer better services to the community. So we went in on day one, infused an extra $3 million into our capital structure, and spread our debt out where some short-term, some long-term, lowered our payments by $50,000, dropped the interest rate by 2 points, and had $3 million to spend to make things better in the way of capital improvement. So we started paving streets. We bought vehicles for the police force, and for the fire department. I mean, we just made some serious investments that hadn't been made before. Really, the only thing I did was say, hey, let's don't make it all short term. Let's balance it out and take advantage of these interest rates. And so that was day one. And so we was able to have a State of the City address shortly after, like a year into our term, and say, here's all these things that we've been able to provide, not by doing anything famous or anything highly strategic, just kind of using a little bit of fiscal responsibility and balancing our debt. And it worked really well. And it still is today. We just did another call bond and added another $2 billion into our capital structure, and the interest rate, the effective rate, wound up being 1.77%. It's free money, man. Free money. So the only thing I regret is I didn't get 10 million. At that rate, it was just cheap money. So we're gonna make some more capital improvement along the way over the next couple of years, and so that's the sort of thing that I was able to bring to the table. And it's a great council I've worked with as well. Almost all have some business history or current business owners, a retired educator. And so when you work with those people and you present something that's efficient, something that makes sense to a business that can also make sense to the city, well, that's, they jump all over that. And so we've had a really good relationship for the last 5 years, and I've come to call them all friends as well. So that's what I would say first and foremost is we're able to use some fiscal responsibility and kind of get our budget in a little bit better shape than it was before, just by balancing our debt out.
So when was you elected mayor?
It was 2016. So I'm in my second term, and it was without a competitor. Yeah. So I'm in the 4-year terms, and I'm in my second term, first year. Should I win this role as state rep, I will be in my second year. So I would say half in, but they've extended the time, right? So now it's 5 years instead of 4. So the person who fills my shoes will have 3 years left, which is a significant amount of time.
Russ, you said something about we had some Lawrence County ties there.
Yes. So if I'm not mistaken, your police chief is married to a Lawrence County native who me and Daniel grew up with. I'm not mistaken. Katie Logan.
Yes, Katie Logan. I think she has a business investment in your county as well. Am I right about that?
That's correct.
Yep.
Is it called Bass Trading Company as well in Moulton?
It is.
Yeah. Has that in downtown Tuscumbia too. So yeah, Katie she's a very proactive and very engaged council member. She's the youngest of us all. And I really like her energy that she brings to the table. And the fact that her husband is the police chief, which all that was vetted, by the way, in case anybody has any questions, everything was done properly and through the right channels on that. And it's been a really good relationship to have her engaged like she has been. She's committed to our downtown. She's committed to the retail industry, the retail side of what makes Tuscumbia so special. And so I really enjoy Katie's role in our council. And, we have 2 female council members, and that makes a difference. You know, we get to hear both sides of how we think, because I think differently than my wife does, and Katie brings an angle to the council that we listen to, and I'm glad to have her aboard. She's really good at what she does. So yeah, y'all said you grew up with her. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
We both went to church with her. I went
School.
to college with her as well, high school, college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you know, you've alluded to it a little bit. One thing that we're wanting to have you on here for is it's not because of Tuscumbia or that you're
Right.
mayor over there. You're going to be running for, it's District 3, right?
District 3, that's correct.
All right. You're going to be running for State Representative District 3, which is currently held by Andrew Sorrell, who's vacating that to run for auditor.
Correct.
So, what in the world made you want to do that?
It's sort of what we've already talked about, in that I really enjoyed this role and feel like after my 4th year, now into my 5th and soon to be 6th, that if I'm committed to this level of service to the community, that I want a bigger footprint. Mm-hmm. Now, admittedly, one of 105 in the state legislature is probably going to be vastly different from one of one as the mayor of Tuscumbia. But at the same time, having those 4 cities, we have to do things, some separately, of course, because we're separate entities, but we have to do several things combined together as a group. And so I've got some experience with that. And the thing that intrigues me the most about this is that I will be serving a larger footprint. And I think it's time for me. I think I've learned what I need to learn and made a difference where I've made a difference. And I will continue to serve Tuscumbia if I win this post, because they will always be in my district, and I'll always have a love for the city and her citizens. And so it will always be Tuscumbia, but at the same time, I want to have that bigger footprint. And I've got a strategy for how I want to approach that should I win this election, and how I prioritize certain things and what will be the platform and the agenda for the District 3 rep should I win this post. And so I hope I get a chance to bring that to fruition and give it a try and give it a test, because I think it's a worthy one that'll work.
Well, now, it came out today, which we're recording this on Monday as usual, but the new district maps came out today, and I know you hadn't seen it until I sent it to you, but it looks like you're going to have pretty much Muscle Shoals, Tuscumbia, over, you're going to butt up to Proncy, our state representative, that will actually be coming over into Colbert County, something that I don't know as if our state representative district has ever went over into Colbert County.
Yeah.
But, and it looks like you're going to leapfrog across the river there for an even larger chunk, maybe even halfway to Waterloo there. And there's probably not a lot of people that know where Waterloo is. Go towards Memphis, and when you get to the end of the earth, make a left. So,
And then there you are.
I got a couple friends that live in Waterloo. One that commutes all the way to Decatur to the plant that I work at every 4 days a week. So I pick on him a little bit that he's at the end of the earth, but only place
It's beautiful country out there, and the Trail of Tears people know where it's at.
Oh yeah.
It's the only school in the state that has waterfront view. So.
Yeah. That's worthy, though.
Yeah. But, so, do you see that? I mean, I know your district, until this is adopted, which doesn't take effect until after or at the next election. So, but right. You'll be running in that district. That'll be the district lines that you'll be running for in this go-round. Currently, you're actually your district currently, let me get my words right here, actually covers a portion of Lawrence County, and that's how you came for us to know, because we had a couple people, Proncy being one of them, but a couple other people on our executive committee. I don't know. You may know the Pools. I don't know.
I do.
The
I do know
infamous
Mr. Norman. Yes.
I
Well
would say
described.
famous, but it's more infamous, you know, especially Karen. But, you know, they said, hey, you've got to get Bubba over here to talk to us. Okay.
Kind of him, man.
So that's kind of how we ended up hooking up and getting to know each other. And I'm happy that you came over and talked to us, even though it looks like now we're not going to be part of your district. But that's still, it's developing that relationship between those different districts, because I'll tell you right now, our current senator, Garland Gudger, actually helped do work in North Lawrence County where it wasn't his district. You know, these guys help each other out. It's not just, you know, this is my district, this is all I'm going to deal with. You know, these, you know, all of these state representatives have to help each other out, especially when they're trying to get a bill passed, you know.
Yeah.
So, that being said, what do you see is one of the most important issues in your district?
Yeah, so let me lean into a little bit of what you said before I do that. I feel like that a lot of the priorities and a lot of the morals and integrity and principles of life that I grew up with in Carver County is exactly mirrored in Lawrence County, and I was looking forward to spending some time over there with y'all and I think it went all the way to, at the time, Hillsborough, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
My family has extensive agriculture history, row cropping, and so we know a lot of the people who farm out that way and the owners of the gin. And so I was kind of looking forward to all that. So that being the case, because we are so closely related and so mirrored in our principles that as long as I don't insult Proncy, I'd still like to come to a meeting or two out there and have a steak with y'all and us kind of get to know each other better, if that's okay with y'all.
We're glad to have you.
Yeah. I figured maybe there's some protocols that I need to learn, but hopefully that's not one that I would overstep my bounds just by hanging out with y'all a little bit and figuring out what I can do to help you too. So being mayor, I sort of have a different outlook on the accountability side and the transparency side of how we do things locally, and where the boots on the ground kind of people are, and what that means to the community. People here know that they know the grocery store I shop at, and they know my work schedule, and they know my walking path when I walk from my CPA office to the mayor's office and downtown. And so being approachable makes you accountable, makes you in tune with the folks that you're serving. And so first thing that there is to learn is there's got to be a balance somewhere between representing and leading, and it's a good balance to have. You always have to represent the people that you serve, but if you grew up there and y'all were raised together, then your principles will be the same. So at that point, if there's an idea that needs to be vetted, then vet it with an open heart and lead if that's the direction that needs to be. And so there's a balance there that I'm going to learn as I go. But since I have served in this role as mayor, and the accountability and approachability that encourages, I look to having the strategy of having a direct connection to every elected official in the county, whether it be by city, town, or county itself, and working directly with those folks that have their agendas, they have the people's ear, and maybe not the resources that I would have as state rep, or even that I had as mayor of Tuscumbia. I have seen times where there are folks at the state level that say, here's my idea, and mine is bigger and higher and better, and I'm just going to kind of push it down to you, and you're going to learn that this is the way it needs to go. And I feel like it's more grassroots from the bottom up. If I can support the mayors in my district and the county commissioners in my district and the council members and say, what's the highest priority? What can I do to help you make your city, town, or county grow? Tell me what I can do to be a part of that. And so now I'm connected with those who are connected with the people. So my representation skills are going to grow because I'm listening to the people who are listening to the people. And I'm not sure that is a common strategy on representation, but it's going to be mine. And so I'll be face to face with the mayors and the councilmen and the commissioners. I'll be at council meetings if they need me and otherwise. And I'm going to be connected to a much larger group of people by being connected to the ones that they elected. And I just feel like that's a good way to start at the bottom. And by bottom, I don't mean in priority, I mean level of accountability, and just kind of progress it right up the line. I do feel like there needs to be a strong connection from the local level all the way up to the federal level. I have strong ones with some folks in D.C. that I think a lot of, with Congressman Adholt is one of them. And so I feel like if I can make that bridge connection from the local to the federal and do my part at the state level by working with the other representatives and the governor, then I can make this a better district, because it's not going to be my ideas I'm pushing down saying you're going to learn this because it's right. It's going to be the other way around. I'm going to be the one listening. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how that vets out. It'll be some work to it because I know there's a few square miles in here and there's lots of people in between and lots of elected people. But again, that's kind of why we're in this, right? To make a difference. And at 54, I realized that I may not have as long as I did 10 years ago, but if I learned what to do, make my time efficient, then I can make a bigger difference. So that's my strategy. So, when you ask me what my priorities are, it's going to be what the mayors are looking for, what the county commissioners are looking for. I'm going to help them do what they need to do.
That's one thing that I've seen in Lawrence County, and I imagine it's going to be kind of your thought here too. But we work as a team.
Yeah.
All of our elected officials work as a team for the most part. There's a few squabbles every once in a while that I won't mention that Russ is a little sore about, but
but he's calling you out, Russ.
But that's one of those things I'll keep him from talking about.
Okay, all right.
But for the most part, all of our elected officials here in Lawrence County work together. They're all working towards the same thing of making our county better, more efficient. And our biggest thing is trying to get industry into Lawrence County. Now, that being said, there's one thing that, we've got to get you on record here for being in favor of or against here, and that's trying to get us another bridge across the Tennessee River into Lawrence County so that Colbert County can get a little benefit from it as well. Getting around the big metropolis of Decatur, and the malfunction junction there.
That Highway 72 and 565 corridor, they call it a corridor for a reason. I mean, they move traffic, and it's a good one. I agree with the bottleneck there. And if there's a way to make that better, I'm all in for it. We hopefully will have more money in the DOT, ALDOT, and so it'd be nice to know if that's on Mr. Cooper's radar, and I feel like it has to be because Mayor Battle has made it abundantly clear that the workforce in the Shoals is contributing to the needs of the employment in Huntsville. He was over in our neck of the woods right when I took office before they announced the landing of Toyota Mazda, and there has been many times since then. Today, our skilled labor here in this corner of the woods in this district is building the facilities and the structures in Huntsville, and he has said that at multiple times in public meetings. And so having a connect to Huntsville matters. I like regions, and regions to me working together makes for a lot stronger team than us just working individually. You go back 20 years and all the power and all the influence was middle and southern of the state. Today, because of Huntsville's growth and the way we're working together, that's changed and is continuing to change. Huntsville is affecting all of us in a positive way. So if you connect me to Huntsville in some kind of way that makes it faster and better, I'm all in, all the way in. Helps us all.
At one time, both my wife and I were both driving to Huntsville every day.
Together or separately?
Separately, yeah.
Okay, all right.
We was going different times. We met each other on Highway 24.
God love you, man. Bless your heart.
But I know we had talked offline on earlier date and time. I know there's been some talk about a railroad crossing and stuff like that in the Shoals. And I just wanted you to share with the audience some things that you did some creative thinking, if you
Right.
will, about some of that and the strategy behind that. If you would care to elaborate on that.
Be happy to. This is where business mentality and efficiencies matter in local government, and so we here do have an issue with trains holding up crossings. There's a hub in Sheffield that the railroad has now. From my standpoint, that's a good thing, because when the trains are busy, that means commerce is flowing and they're moving product from one place to another. So that indicates a good thing, and they're a good employer. So that's good. The bad side is we've got so many crossings because we're congested here that there are times where there's some serious traffic holdup. Now, in most of the crossings, trains are just moving. They're going from point A to point B. They're either leaving or coming out, and when they're waiting based on availability of track, they're off the intersection, and so everything's fine. There is a place or two that does not have that luxury. The trains are too long, and when they're staging and waiting, they're blocking the intersection. So we do have a congestion issue here. At the locations in Sheffield and Muscle Shoals, there is one overpass that can never be blocked. So you just got to get to it. So from 6th Street from Avalon to 6th Street, over to, and now I'm drawing a blank on the road. It runs right by the Christian school, Covenant Christian. I'm drawing a blank on the road, but once you get to that street, you will always cross the overpass and never be blocked. So we spent $240, I think was the exact number, of some blue signs. We did have it engineered. I think he charged, well, I'm not going to remember what he charged us, so I'm not going to say. We had an engineer help us with where they need to go and design the signs for us. But let's say we spent, $300 or $400 on the signs, and we placed them at places prior to being stopped by the train. And it would say alternate train route, turn here, turn there, and it would kind of guide you like a alternate route to the overpass that can never be blocked. So we spent, less than $500, and we saved any sort of discussion about an overpass in two cities of Muscle Shoals and Tuscumbia, because it's not as big of an issue there. And as long as you can keep going around and get to an overpass, it's an inconvenience more than anything else. The one in Sheffield does stop and stay stopped sometimes for hours, if not longer, because that's how it is. And I think the railroad's been approached multiple times about that. We brought in all sorts of federal delegations to talk to them. It just is what it is. And so how do you fix that? Well, maybe the railroad could invest in some staging lines, and I know that is expensive endeavor, but maybe they can do that. Maybe there's some funding for that. Maybe there is a chance for an overpass at the most important or the most congested area in Sheffield. But at the same time, you've got a cost of what it will cost to run that overhead, and then consider also all the property beneath the overpass is now become bad ownership property, and so the owners that own that will probably push back and say, "Man, don't kill my property. I don't want to be under an overpass," because when you're under an overpass, nobody goes to you anymore. They go around you from that point on, and so there is an opportunity cost there as well. So, for us, we went the creative way and just said, "Hey, make a few turns and you'll be out." From 6th Street, it took me 1 minute and 45 seconds. I timed it. From Avalon, it'd take probably another 1:45. So I'd say 3 minutes, you can get all the way around and be gone. And for me, if I go all the way around the 3 minutes and I get to the other side and they've already released and the cars are gone, I don't care. I just got to move. I can't sit still. And so I always go around. I just have to be moving.
I understand that one completely. Yeah. There's times where I work, we have railroad that's right before you get to our plant. And if they're making a train, you're just going to sit there. There is no way around it. So,
Uh-oh.
I know in Lawrence County, sometimes that we have to have an ambulance staged north of the tracks because we have no overhead access at all with the train all the way across Lawrence County. I know that from working at Decatur, crossing the track sometimes is aggravating. And I know that, like in Lawrence County, for instance, if you go down 33 there's a train there, you can try to beat it by going a different way and try to get around it. But sometimes that's difficult, and it can delay response times. Do y'all have any kind of issue with that in the Shoals area as far as hospitals or fire departments or police response and some of that?
Yeah, there would be some small opportunities for that, and which by small opportunity, I don't mean that the significance is not large, but it's not an everyday issue. On Avalon Avenue, there's a hospital both on the east and the west side. You have Shoals Hospital on the east. On the west side, you have Helen Keller Hospital. So if an ambulance is caught there, they can, should, and I think are required to turn and go to the hospital of closest proximity, regardless of where the person has requested. You know, if it's threatening of life, they go to the closest one no matter what. The ones in Sheffield, you know, if you're calling the wrong side, you know, you just, it could be a problem. And the one I'm talking about in Sheffield is right downtown on Montgomery Avenue. It's just right downtown. I have seen a couple of ideas about what an overpass would look like, and they have to curve it. You know, they can't go straight because the straight one that I'm thinking about is on alternate 72 that we talked about that goes to 565. And I really think from beginning to end, once it ramps up and ramps down the other end, it's about 1.5 miles. You know, well, that's a lot of territory underneath the overpass. That's going to be wasted land basically. So that's pretty significant. So they were trying to make one that kind of did a like a U-turn just to kind of shorten the distance between the two. So it hasn't gotten any further than that because there's no funding to build it. And like I said, there's several opinions out there about what the cost would be. Some say it's, you know, single digit millions, like 7, 8, or 9 million. And some are saying $30, $40 million. I would say post-COVID, it probably is on the higher side because everything is, right?
Yeah. Don't go try to buy bacon right now.
Milk, bacon, Jeeps, anything, used or new.
Vehicle.
Yep.
Land.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. So we're talking about this bridge. What about the gas tax money? Where did you stand on that? And would you have done anything different?
You know, Jamie's a friend of mine, and I got to know Jamie Keel during his campaign. Didn't know him before, but you know, he was out and about doing his thing and doing it the right way. And I remember when I think they called a special session right before the regular session, right? Just like right before it. And so he goes up there, and I wasn't anticipating. I didn't know what it was about. And so I called him after the first night. I think I was at a ball game somewhere, and I called him just to say, hey, man, just want to check in on your first day and see how it was. And I wasn't prepared for the story I got with what that first day was like, because it was pretty tough and brutal for folks that went up there without being prepared for what was coming on their first day. And I hate it for him. I wanted him to go and, you know, just kind of ease into it. And it didn't happen that way for him or Andrew. So everybody in our county voted against it. I don't think it was that way in Lawrence. I think Pronsy might have voted for it. I can't remember for sure who did and who didn't. But all three of ours voted against it. And so they did that representing their community, because the folks in Carver County, or at least the ones I heard, expressed that they didn't want that tax. Being in Tuscumbia, we were discussing, because our roads are bad. I don't know if you've been to Tuscumbia lately, but we've got some asphalt that's probably 60 years old.
Sunday.
And sir?
I was in Tuscumbia Sunday.
Well, I don't know which roads you were on, but some of them are just bad. And some of the ones around the mayor's house is that bad, and it's going to remain that way, because when the roads get paved, ours will be the very last one paved, and my neighbors hate me for that, but that's the way it's going to be until I'm not the mayor anymore. And then I'm going to advocate to get mine paved. The mayor can't get his road paved. That just can't happen. So we were having discussions. Tuscumbians more than likely would have welcomed, you know, a 2-cent gas tax when it rolled off. And we had a 2-center that was for Calvert and Lauderdale both to pay off a bond. And when it rolled off, Lauderdale kept theirs, and we dropped ours because that was what was promised. And I respect that. But I think Tuscumbia was prepared to say, well, we'll pass a 2-cent, just keep it in our city for our streets. And so from my perspective, I got citizens that really wanted the streets paved and was willing to pay some for it. Today, it's going to be 10 cents. It goes to Montgomery, and now it's, now you got to ask for it to come back. So it's a little bit different today. So I'm going to give you a long answer. All right. So I'm roundabout coming to where I'm going with this. Years ago, 20 plus years ago, we decided in this community to pass a half-cent tax to fund a economic development fund. We today call it the Shoals EDA, Economic Development Authority, and that tax rolls into that fund, and that fund is used to recruit industry. And they have had some sure enough home runs these last couple of years under Kevin Jackson's leadership, and of course before that. But there has been some sure enough action since Kevin took over, and we're landing jobs. So my question is, would I be willing personally to pay some tax to employ someone? Personally, I would, because an employed family is a liberated family. I put hold into anybody. You go to work, you make your money, you come back and you spend it like you want to. You don't need anybody to direct you on what to do. But now, of course, there's limits. As a whole, I'm opposed to unregulated tax. I mean, it gets to the point where someone else thinks they can spend their money better than I can, and that's never the case. I think everyone can spend their own money as they see fit, and felt the same way about, or do feel the same way about vaccinations. Got mine. I did. I don't ever want to tell somebody they have to do the same. But I think given opportunity, most Alabamians would say, okay, that makes sense. I'm going to do it. I just don't like the mandate of it. So with taxes, it's kind of like that, right? It's kind of like a mandate. For every time you buy a gallon, we're going to take an extra 10 cents out. We're going to dump it into this fund, and we're going to spend it like we see fit. I do think that there were needs in Montgomery with some funds that Shelby was promising at the federal level that had to be matched. So do you let those funds go, or do you match them and take them and make the state better from top to bottom? Well, our issue up here was, well, I see that in North Alabama, though. Well, I see, okay, so you're going to do something with the Bay in Mobile, and I can see how that port is going to help the state as a whole, and I can get that. But man, that's in Mobile. That takes me 6 hours to get down there. Does that help me up here? And from a broad perspective, from a stand back and look from top down, yeah, it does help the state and has helped the state. I do feel like there could have been a compromise reached. I think some of the problem they had with it, some of our guys, was it was an ongoing self-increasing based on, I think, is it based on consumer price index after a certain point in time? Isn't that right? It just continues to go up. And I think our guy said, if it's a tax, we need to vote on it, and make it go up when we say it goes up, or when that way the people can hold us in check and say no or yes, and we represent the people with that. And I think that was part of the problem with our guys. I would have been for somewhat of a tax, maybe not 10 cents, but some, if it would have helped my city and county and the state as a whole. But I think that portion of it, maybe there was some opportunities that there could have been some compromises made. In the end, what was it, like 20 votes against out of 105?
Yeah.
So it didn't matter how my guys voted. Either way, it would have been the same.
Yeah, and that's the thing that kind of ends up hurting those guys that voted against it. Because, let's be honest. I mean, leadership and people take things personally, and your district could suffer. I'm not saying that they have or that leadership would do that, but because you went against them, there's always that possibility that leadership or maybe your bill didn't make it to the floor. Maybe, we need an overpass over a railroad. Well, we might let you do the engineering on it, but that's about as far as we're going to let you get.
Yeah, it's true. But I still want to say, taken as a whole, I am not for. I'm against taxes. I just at a certain level. So it's almost like every so many years, let's do a customer survey, a citizen survey. What services would you like the state of Alabama to provide for you, either as the cities that represent and the citizens that live within those cities in the county? What services do you want the state to perform for you? And should you not want to do some of them, fine. We'll that's not what you want, we'll drop the tax. We won't do that service anymore. To me, every now and then, I mean, man, I can't make a phone call or purchase anything anymore without them asking me to take a survey. How many times do we survey the citizens of Alabama and say, hey, what do you want us to do or not? I'm not asking you to judge how I'm doing something. Do you want us to provide this service or not? And if you don't, then maybe we don't have to do that. Maybe we can do something else.
Well, I thought, when they first introduced this gas price or the gas tax, our gas prices was way low. As you know,
I know.
Right now with our current administration, if you had another 10 cents, it could really hit somebody's pocketbook now. So I think that it probably had, some of that was kind of absorbed. But in the interest of full disclosure, I was not wholesale bought into the whole gas tax thing. Had many discussions with the legislators about it, and I was like, hey, sell me on this, convince me of this. And, I got to talking to past legislators, current legislatures, and they was discussing how, I think the gas tax was at the same levels it was years and years ago, but material and things of that nature to repair the roads, you have more regulations with regard to roads, safety standards, more fuel efficient vehicles, electric vehicles, all that stuff wasn't around 20 years ago. So basically, less funding was going into improving the roads. So that kind of made me start thinking a little bit. And then when the Trump administration was in, obviously, our energy prices was lower, our gas prices was lower, and it kind of balanced out. But now with our gas prices getting so high, when those steps start going in 2 cents, I think people will be a little bit more upset about it. But they're going so high right now, 2 cents ain't really nothing compared to $4.
You're right, man. Supply and demand. If we could drop that price, we could drop that price 10 cents in no time. If we can increase the supply and get it back to where it was. I totally agree. We were at $2 or so, a little above $2 at one time. In fact, we might have even got down to $1.99 for a little bit. And today, it's brutal today. So it does make a difference. 10 cents does make a difference today.
And
are we gonna?
They took a lot of talking to convince me to say, as a conservative person, about not increasing taxes. I think that as a 99.9% of people that voted for the gas tax will hit me up on this and be mad at me for saying that. I think that they made the decision that they thought was best for their constituents, not that they like to raise taxes or anything like that. I think that they saw a need that they had to do that. I think that's why they made those decisions.
I think our roads do suffer compared to the states around us.
I drove in Mississippi; their roads are horrible.
Oh, they are.
So another thing I was going to say, and taxes is a hot topic this week. There's some discussion. I was listening to some business news earlier today, and they was talking about a wealth tax on like some of the 700 most richest people in the country. There was also a tax on unrealized capital gains, meaning you invest in stock is worth something today, but tomorrow if you sell that stock, the price could have dropped out of it. So unrealized capital gain, that just made 0 sense to me.
Vehemently opposed to that.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, that's just wrong in every way.
That stuff gets over my head too easily there. I tried to take and get my Series 6 and 63 license while I was selling insurance, and I could not make sense of half that stuff and didn't get those licenses. I think I got the 6, but not the 63.
Tell me if I'm wrong. So it'd be like, say I invested in a cup manufacturer, and the stocks skyrocket, right? And so they would tax me on what this stock is worth now, but tomorrow the bottom could fall out, and I could have paid all this tax on an unrealized capital gain, but then actually lose my tail. To me, that just seems like people are going to quit investing in anything. If you're keep your money, cash it out, stay where you're at, and be done with it. People are not going to invest.
They should never tax something that is unrealized. I mean, that's like an oxymoron. How do you tax something that you don't have? It's ludicrous. And I'm not a big capital gains tax kind of guy. I think it needs to be as low as possible. Let these people invest in things that turn over and make them money, and they just keep dumping money into companies that use it to advance their business. And when your business advances, you hire people. And again, a person that works and has income is liberated from needing anybody, and that's what I'm all about. So, yeah, I'm strongly opposed to any sort of unrealized tax of any kind. It's almost a joke that we're talking about it, but if we could just keep delaying until 2022 November, we'll have a Congress that makes everybody work together as opposed to just trying to rush things through like they seem to be doing right now. I'm an anti-tax kind of guy in that regard.
In the interest of full disclosure, I'm not a billionaire, so that tax.
Well, I was going to ask that when we're off camera here in a little bit. So you're talking that.
He's not a billionaire. He's a multi-billionaire. No.
Yes, that's correct. I mean to undersell you there, buddy. I don't want to undersell you.
Unrealized.
I think there's only two CPAs in the state legislature today, and I think there's a skill that could be used there if more than three would be in play. I do think though that my profession, taken as a whole, the people skills are horrible, and that's just the way it is. So I think that's why there's only two at this point.
Well, let's just be real about it. I mean, besides going to the doctor, going to the CPA is the next one down about on your list of I don't want to go.
Yeah, I know, right? I get it. I understand. I
mean, I'd rather take a COVID or a steroid shot in the rear end than I would go to the tax guy. I mean,
yeah, I totally understand that, man. That's well received. I get it. I understand.
Let's see.
I went down a rabbit hole up on that.
It's okay, man. I enjoyed it. Unrealized tax. It's a oxymoron, like jumbo shrimp.
Yeah.
Well, just to be on record now, and Proncy will back me up on this. Trust me, I burned up his phone several days there on the gas tax. I was not for it. I understand what he done. He literally took the view of it's going to pass. Do I handicap my district or not?
Mm-hmm.
And, the votes are there. Why do I go against something that could be beneficial to my district? So, I understand what he did. Did I like it? Not really. Trust me, he heard from me about it.
Yeah.
And he'll be happy to give you his personal cell phone number for anybody else that wants to tell him about it too. I work with a guy that goes to church with him. I think the guy tells him about every Sunday, I'm not voting for you because of that gas tax.
Yeah, I know that's the thing to remember, right?
Yeah, it's like, hey, let it go. It's over with. It's done with. But let me go back to that though a little bit though too.
Yeah.
You mentioned about some things that Shelby had actually promised that we had to have matching funds for. Well, some of that could actually be coming to fruition a little bit sooner than we thought possibly. Paul DeMarco, who was in the legislature and is now, I think he's the head of the Port Authority down there in Mobile, something like that. He was actually quoted in Yellowhammer News maybe yesterday, I believe it was, saying, hey, look, all this stuff sitting out here in the Gulf and off New York and San Francisco and stuff, hey, bring it all around here. Mobile's ready to take it. We'll get you the trucks. We'll get you the place to unload it. Let's get it shipped in, If we could see, and honestly, there's probably a lot of, I know this may be a little bit of a taboo thing to say with you being in Tuscumbia, the Shoals area, because there is a little bit of union mentality over there. But if you could get some of the union stuff out of the way, I think that we would start getting a lot more of that moving. Where Alabama, we don't have to necessarily deal with that. So, hey, who knows? We might start getting some more shipments in to the port. They've already been working on dredging it, so it's just waiting for them to start getting over here and offloading.
We're talking about multi-millions federal monies dumped into getting that done. It's a significant investment by the federal government to make things better for a long time to come. As far as what I would have done, I think maybe it comes down to that. Maybe I need to be, just point blank and say what I would have done in that regard. I would have asked for, and probably been denied, a chance to come home for a day to visit with folks, to talk to them about why I think it would matter. I would lean toward doing it, but if the people in my county said don't, then I wouldn't have, and would have done it in a way that I think the folks in leadership in Montgomery would understand if you're representing your community. But if you can do it in a way that they respect how you do it, and eventually I can bring my community around, I would like to have had an opportunity to do that. I don't think they gave them that chance. I think they said, we're going to decide, and it's going to be done in this short time frame, and you're going to make your mind up. And that's where I say striking a balance between leadership and representation is going to be something I have to learn, how to navigate that. Because if you're pushing something down someone's throat, then you're not really leading. You just force them to do something that they don't want to do. I will say that since that 10 cents is about to kick in, I've seen multiple opportunities where it's going to make the state in a better place. If we can bring in employment, if it was a part of that dredging and has brought in some employment levels in Huntsville or Birmingham, where you get this major manufacturer that invests all that millions of dollars to get a plant started, they're not going to walk away from it. The economy turns down, they may lay people off, but they will come back and hire those people back. So if you can say that we brought in Huntsville's 4,000 jobs, 10,000 total, which affects me here, and you have those jobs in play, I'm going to tell you, whether I would have voted for it or not, it's worth it if you can employ people. It's just, get somebody working. Our employment levels are close to where they were before, because those entities invested their resources here, and they're going to be committed to them. That matters, man. In the long term, that matters.
Yeah, and we got to think about. We're seeing the results from that tax, whether we want to think about it or not. We're seeing it every day, especially if you're driving back and forth to Huntsville. You got the widening of 565. You got the interchange out there. You got a new interchange that's fixing to start. Or they may have already started it on 65 there for Toyota, Mazda. That money had to come from somewhere. The state's giving tax breaks to Toyota, Mazda to get them lured in here. What was it you was going to say, Russ?
I said they even chip sealed our road.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, whole new problem now. It's just noisy.
Send Pronci a text tonight and thank him for that. Why don't you?
Don't bother me.
I'm sure he's getting enough thanks for that already. Russ and I it doesn't bother us too much. My neighbor literally just sold their house today and had put it up Thursday, and we said, hey, I know you was mad about the road, but that didn't mean you had to move.
Well, what if we look back on it and say, 5 years from now, that this 10 cents by direct confession brought in a industry that employed 10,000 people and cut a new bridge across that connected Northwest Alabama with Huntsville? Would everyone say it's worth it, or would they say, nope, it's a tax, I don't want it? It's just, is that ideologue? Is that theory? Is it practicality? Where do you flesh that out? In the end, where do you flesh that out? Again, I believe people can spend their money better than the government can. It comes down to services. Do you want these services provided by the state of Alabama or by your local cities or counties? And if you do, then this is what can happen with it as long as everybody stays accountable. I believe Alabama can be accountable.
And that's where I think there's a lot of people out here that they want to complain about, oh, well, this or that. But when they really boil it down, they don't have any idea what it's going to cost, how they're going to pay for it, or how it's going to work.
Right.
And that becomes an issue when you're sitting here saying, well, I want this. Well, how do we do that?
Can't do it. Yeah, we can't do it.
I've had various conversations, and I'm sure Russ has too, with our neighbors and stuff. My neighbor on the other side of me, he called me and he says, does the county commission just hate us? I'm like, no. I said, why? And he said, well, what they done to our road? And I said, well, look. I said, it costs around $160,000. I think that's the figure that I've heard. Around $160,000 per mile of asphalt to lay new asphalt. Or you can do maybe $10,000 chip sealing it. Which are you going to do? Which covers more roads and gets the level of road to a better condition in the county? We've got, what is it, Russ, 900 miles of road?
Oh, that's a lot more than that. There's over 600 roads in the county. So.
But, I mean, you're talking about, okay, and hey, every one of them, if they're a mile long, how much money are we talking about? I mean, it's a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, it is.
It
is. So, yeah, it's just, yeah.
And the commission has absolutely zero to do what road gets paved, how it gets paved, all that stuff.
Right.
But talking about Alabama and accountability for just a second, and I'm just going to chase a rabbit too. Russ started this, so I'm gonna reciprocate. Getting into this District 3, getting into state level, is multifaceted for me. One is absolutely investing in the lives of a larger footprint. 45,000 people really intrigues me, and I want to make a difference in that many people's lives. Also at the national level. I said this in my announcement that I made, that this country as a whole, taken as a whole, our leadership has lost the ability to lead. The people have not. The people are solid, taken as a whole. And we're letting the extremists run the country, and they are just pushing and pulling and fighting, and we've lost the ability to lead. Mm-hmm. Alabama, however, has always been steadfast. We've been an anchor. We've always, hey, if you want to live your own life with low taxes and a good quality of life, you come to Alabama. We're here. I think it's time for us to take that message outside our borders and start making a difference in the way things are done nationally. And I want to be part of that. I think the way we do life is incredible. I mean, where else in the country can you have a mayor with the nickname Bubba? Than right here in the state of Alabama, and it's a beautiful thing. And so I just think it's time for us to take our message outside of our borders into the country and say, stop acting foolish, man. This is what matters, and this is how you lead. And laws are made where people intersect, and nowhere else. It's not if I'm offended, or it's not anything except how I interact with people. Is drinking alcohol illegal? No. But if you get in your car and you can interact with me in a way that detriments my life, then yeah, it's illegal. So you have freedoms, but not when it crosses my line and endangers me. And other than that, we try to legislate everything now, from people's opinions to people's feelings getting hurt. And it's got to calm back down and get back to normalcy. Alabama is the best state to lead that endeavor. And I hope we get into the time where we say, hey, we're going to step out to this world stage for a little bit, and we're going to show this country how to lead itself again. So I want to be a part of that. I just think it's time. I think now's the time for that. Well, sorry, little rant there.
Well, I have to say though, going back to your where can you have the mayor with the nickname Bubba? I'm kind of disappointed that it's not on your sign. I mean,
well, it will be on I have an event November 16th. Y'all are invited to it, by the way, to the Alabama Music Hall of Fame. And on the invitation, it will say it'll be Kerry Bubba Underwood. And on my ballot, when people vote in District 3, it'll be Kerry Bubba Underwood. So I put it where it matters. I put it where you blacken the oval. That's where my name is Bubba.
You should get you some little oval bumper stickers that just say Bubba on the back of it. Vote Bubba. Put on cars, Well, Kerry, thanks for joining us tonight. I hope that people have gotten to know you a little bit more through this. We try to take a little bit more deeper dive. I know you came and talked to our executive committee this past month, and you get 15 minutes to stand up there and tell about yourself and maybe a couple of quick questions, and then for you were back out the door heading to a ball game.
I know my son was playing. I'm so sorry about that, man. I'm so sorry about that.
No, that's all right. But for most people, that's their interaction with politicians. Right. And we are trying to take that to the next level. And, you may not be able to sit down and have a conversation with them, but maybe we're covering some things that you're wanting to know about the guy that's trying to run for this office. So, and that's what we're trying to do through this podcast. So, but I just want to say thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks everybody for joining us for another episode of Let's Talk Politics Alabama, the podcast. If you're enjoying our episodes that we're doing here, make sure you give us 5-star rating or a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button. It helps us grow our podcast. But more than anything, what helps us grow the podcast is to share it on your social media platforms. We want to get information out to everybody. We want everybody to know who Bubba Underwood is. So share it with everybody that you can and help us grow this into what we're calling it here, fully Alabama politics, not just North Alabama. I will say that we're going to have Secretary of State John Merrill on in a couple of weeks to talk about election stuff. So I'll go ahead and let that cat out of the bag. So, but until next time, I'll let Russ and Kerry have the last words, and we'll get out of here.
Y'all be careful.
Very nice. I commend you both for what you're doing. I appreciate what you do, not only this podcast, but in your day-to-day life. Thank you for your service for us. Again, I couldn't be more thankful for spending some time with you both. Daniel, thanks for getting to know me better. Thanks for the invitation, and look forward to talking to you in the future.